There are some places in the Appalachian Mountains that don't appear on modern maps, not because they were removed, but because they were never officially recorded in the first place. And the most disturbing thing about them is this: people still live there, but they never agree on how many. My name is Adrian Hale. I used to work as a field analyst for missing persons documentation in rural Tennessee. My job was simple: on paper verify disappearances, collect witness statements, confirm timelines. But I stopped believing in simple jobs the day I received the first cassette tape. Not a digital file, a physical recording. No sender name, just a label written in fading ink. Do not listen alone. I made the mistake of listening alone. The voice on the tape belonged to a man named Rowan Vance. At least that's the name he used. He was speaking slowly, like someone afraid the walls might understand him. "I don't know who will hear this," he said, "but I don't have time to rewrite it properly." A pause. Then the first strange sentence: "The mountain doesn't take people, it edits them." I stopped the tape, rewound it, listened again. It didn't make sense. At least not yet. But something about his tone felt rehearsed. Not like he was telling a story. Like he was confessing one he had already lived through too many times. The case file attached to the tape was even stranger. A location called Greatedge Hollow, deep in the eastern Appalachian Range. Population records, 312. But the last census showed 417. No explanation for the missing 105 people. No evacuation record. No disaster report. Just a blank gap in administrative history. When I arrived in Greatedge Hollow, the first thing I noticed was how wrong silence can feel. Not quiet, not peaceful. Wrong, like sound had been removed, mid-sentence. The town itself was small wooden structures, narrow roads, fog that never fully lifted. But there was something inconsistent about it. Every time I passed the same street, something had changed. A window open that wasn't before. A chair placed differently. A dog barking from a house that was empty minutes earlier. The sheriff met me at the edge of town. His name was Dorian Pike. He didn't shake my hand. He didn't ask my name. Instead, he said something I still remember exactly. He should have turned back before the second mile marker. I asked him what he meant. He smiled, but not kindly. "It's not safe when the mountain starts noticing you." Then he walked away. No explanation, no escort. Just silence behind him like a closing door. That night, I stayed in a rented room above a closed general store. At 2:46 a.m., my radio turned on by itself. I hadn't touched it. No batteries were installed. Yet static filled the room like breathing. Then a voice came through. Not Rowan Vance, not Dorian Pike, a child, whispering. "Don't write everything you see." A pause. Then "the mountain reads what you record." That was the first clue I ignored. The second came when I reviewed the town registry. Names didn't stay consistent. The same house would have different occupants, depending on which document I checked. Even worse, some names appeared in one record, but were completely absent in another, created on the same date. It was like reality itself was being edited after the fact. The first disappearance I physically investigated was a woman named Lila Grayson. Her neighbors said she had moved away suddenly, but her house told a different story. Her breakfast was still on the table, milk left open, a chair pulled back like someone had stood up mid-meal and never finished the thought. On the kitchen wall, I found something carved into the wood. Not words, a sequence of numbers, repeating, like a countdown that had already ended. That night, I received a second cassette. It was already playing when I opened the envelope. Rowan Vance again, but this time, his voice was thinner, more tired. "They told me to stop documenting," he said. I didn't understand what that meant until I started forgetting things I hadn't even recorded yet. A long pause. Then the most important line. "If you're hearing this, you're already part of the system." My recorder shut off, but the tape kept playing, even without power. Even after I removed it, the voice continued inside the room, not from a device, from the walls. And that's when I saw it. On the window glass, fog forming letters from the outside. Slow, deliberate, like something was writing with breath instead of ink. It said, "You have been logged." Behind me, Something shifted in the hallway. Footsteps. Slow. Not walking toward me. Walking around me. Like I was already inside something I couldn't exit anymore. I didn't turn around, because I understood something I hadn't before. Greenwich Hollow wasn't a place where people disappeared. It was a place where people were rewritten. By morning, Greenwich Hollow feels slightly different again. Not obviously, subtly. The kind of difference your mind tries to correct on its own. A mailbox that wasn't read yesterday, now is. A street sign that used to say, East Hollow Road, now reads, East Hollow Route, and worse. A woman who spoke to me yesterday in the diner. She denies ever meeting me, not nervously, completely, like the memory never existed inside her. I go back to the diner. The owner, an older man named Caleb Mercer, looks at me strangely. "You're the 5th investigator this year," he says. I correct him. I'm the 2nd. He pauses, then whispers. "That's what all the second ones say." That night, I find something inside my motel drawer. A cassette tape labeled, Rowan Vance, Session 4. I never received sessions 1, 2, 3. Only 4. I play it. His voice is worse now. "He's going to tell you the town is changing," Rowan says. But that's not true. A long silence. The town is not changing. It is correcting you. My recorder glitches. When I replay the same sentence, it says something different. It is correcting itself through you. That's the first twist. The machine is also changing. I start documenting everything manually, but every note I write looks different when I reread it. Not erased, rewritten. Even my handwriting begins to shift slightly. Same words, different meaning. Like something is editing my intent after I express it. Then I meet the first real contradiction in human form. A man named Ethan Doyle. Yesterday, he told me he had lived in Greenwich his whole life. Today, he insists he moved here only last winter. Both versions feel equally confident. Both believe the other version is false. Neither shows awareness of contradiction. That night, I see something outside my window. A figure standing between 2 streetlights. It doesn't move, but the problem is, when I blink, its position changes slightly. Not walking, not approaching, adjusting. Like reality is correcting its placement frame by frame. I receive another tape. This one is damaged. Only fragments remain. If you are seeing duplication, it means the system is unstable. Do not trust continuity of memory. They are not people anymore. They are recordings that learned to act alive, then static. And then the second major twist hits. My own reflection in the mirror speaks when I don't. Not mimicking. Continuing sentences I never started. Sheriff Dorian Pike finally invites me to the station. Not aggressively, calmly, too calmly. Inside the station, there are files, but they aren't normal records. They are categorized by names I recognize. Rowan Vance, multiple versions. Leela Grayson, deleted, restored, deleted, again. Adrian Hale, pending entry. My file is already open, already written. Before I entered the room, Pike finally speaks honestly. "You think people disappear here," he says. "They don't. They become unstable entries in a living archive." He shows me a sealed room. Inside are shelves filled with cassette tapes. Thousands, each labeled with names. Each name slightly altered on repeated versions. Rowan Vance, Rowan Vance, Rowan Vance, R. Vance, same person, different realities. Pike says something that breaks everything. The mountain doesn't kill memory. It archives it until it becomes editable. Twist. Rowan Vance was never one person. He was a failed consistency loop, a man who recorded himself so many times. The recordings began overwriting the original. That's why his voice changes between tapes. That's why the town changes. Because everything inside Greenwich is being continuously resaved. That night, I find tape. 0. No label, just my name. Inside, Rowan speaks one final warning. If you reached this tape, you are no longer outside the system. You are inside the recording layer. Then the most disturbing line. You are not investigating Greenwich Hollow. You are becoming its next archive entry. People begin reacting to me differently. Some recognize me, some don't. Some remember conversations we never had. Others forget entire meetings within minutes. I realize something horrifying. The town is not consistent enough to resist observation. Every time I document something, it becomes more unstable. Every photograph I take shifts slightly when I retake it. Same scene, different reality. Then I discover the truth, hidden in plain sight. Great Edge Hollow is not a town. It is a containment system, built to store corrupted human memory patterns that cannot exist in the outside world. The sheriff wasn't lying, but he also wasn't fully real. Neither are the residents. They are stabilized recordings of overwritten identities. Then the biggest twist arrives. Rowan Vance appears in person, but he flickers. Sometimes older, sometimes younger, sometimes missing parts of his face. He tells me, "You're the first investigator who stayed long enough to become editable." And then, the system doesn't erase people. It corrects inconsistencies by rewriting the observer. I try to leave town, but every road loops back. Every exit leads to a slightly different version of Great Edge. Same sign, different spelling, different sky. I finally understand. Everything I've experienced is not happening in real time. It is being compiled, edited, rendered. Great Edge Hollow is a living recording engine, and I am now inside its active session. Final tape plays automatically. Rowan Vance's last message. If you are hearing this clearly, the system has accepted you. You are no longer the observer. You are the archive. I try to scream, but my voice comes out delayed, like audio playback, not synchronized with reality. Sheriff Pike appears one last time, but his face is now partially erased. He says calmly, "We all tried to document it. That's how it spreads." Final twist. The cassette recorder in my hand starts recording by itself. Even though I turned it off. Even though I removed the tape. Even though it has no power source. The display reads, "New entry created. Name, Adrian Hale. Status, active file." And then I hear my own voice from the speaker. But I am still standing there, speaking something I did not say yet. Final line. "You are watching me now, aren't you?"